we're talking about the College Board CSS Profile application. And again, this is what many institutions use when they don't have their own institutional form. They will use this particular form to award their institutional money. And so what the CSS Profile does, it takes a more stringent look at a family's ability to contribute towards their son or daughter's education. So on this application, it's going to look at things such as home equity. It's going to look at any assets that the student may have or any assets that the parents may have. Now, the one component that it does not look at and we do not touch are your retirement accounts. So those accounts are safe. If you have any additional real estate, it looks at those types of assets or resources where the need analysis says, this family has a resource that maybe another family doesn't have. And if necessary, you could possibly borrow against, or you could liquidate, things of that nature. So the CSS Profile is a more stringent application, whereas the FAFSA is a more liberal calculation. And so what happens is we either take the CSS Profile application or that institutional form plus the FAFSA and we marry them together. We put them together to come up with either your merit-based award or your need-based award. So basic information about the CSS Profile application, the report is about $25. The initial application to have the report sent to the various schools is additional $16. Now for students, first generation, in particular at Georgetown, institutions can, what we call, if they use the profile, they can waive this information. If we get it the first year, students can be exempt from this application so that they don't have to spend the $25 annually to have that application completed. The College Board will also, based on the income that is self-reported, determine if a student is eligible for a waiver. You'll often hear students ask questions about, does the financial aid application office have waivers for the CSS Profile? The financial aid office does not for the CSS Profile application. That is done automatically by the College Board. When students begin to put their information into the system, onto the application, they will direct or instruct a student whether or not they've been waived based on their income that has been reported. Again, not all universities or colleges require this application. Some have their own institutional form. And again, and it helps institutions make the award for their own institutional funding. You're going to use the same information, the same tax information that you used on the FAFSA application on the CSS Profile. Again, the CSS Profile, however, does allow you to get into some of the topics that we talked about earlier with regards to medical expenses, secondary allowances for private schools, elderly care, things of that nature. It goes a little bit more into in-depth detail. There's also a comment section on the CSS Profile and other institutional forms that should allow you or parents to articulate a little bit about what is actually going on in a family's circumstances. And so what we do as financial aid representatives is we look at this application, we look at the comment section, and personally what I do is if I read a comment and I see that, you know, a family is trying to articulate something to me and I need more information, I will then reach out to that family to say, I've read your comments in the CSS Profile. In order for us to do a fair and accurate analysis, please send me a narrative with additional information. So you do have the opportunity, and you should also have it on the institutional form to be able to articulate, it's probably just a little small box, so maybe 250 words to articulate what the real picture is. And one example this year, I had a father reach out to me to say, Greta, you know, calendar year 2018 was a great year for me. Unfortunately, I became unemployed at the end of 2018, and I have not been able to find employment. So I'm asking you not to evaluate my son or daughter based on our income for 2018 because it's not accurate. And so what we would do then, or what I did do, is to give father further instructions on what forms he did need to complete so that we could do an analysis and make a fair and accurate award. Okay, and this is just, and what happens, the format, is an online application, just like the FAFSA application. And once the students complete this application, it will be processed. Now they will not get what we call a SAR, like we did from the FAFSA, but they will get confirmation stating that their CSS profile or their institutional application has been received. And then students will be prompted to upload that tax information to the College Board. And with that information, what we're doing with it as a financial aid representative is we're verifying those numbers to make sure that what you self-reported matches with the connection. There's what we call the data retrieval piece, matches with the IRS. So Georgetown does what we call 100% verification, meaning making sure that the information that you put on these forms is indeed accurate. Not all schools do 100% verification. Some schools just take your information at face value, and if something changes, then again, you will need to reach out and have a conversation with them about it. Another sticky situation that often happens with students are with students that come from divorced or separated parents, where there really is no relationship with what we call the non-custodial parent. There is what we call a waiver form. Institutions have their own form, but the College Board also has a form. So if they indicate on the form what their parents' marital status is, this will prompt further emails and documents to be submitted by the student to the school that they're interested in. In this case in particular, I can't encourage you enough to have students to write narratives explaining what the relationship or lack there is between the custodial and the non-custodial parent. In many cases, there's never been a relationship and that information is waived. If that information is waived the first year, it would be waived all 4 years. So you don't have to complete that process or make that request all 4 years. Again, if there are special circumstances such as a loss of employment, a parent is sick and now receiving disability, which has affected income. And so that income that was reported in 2018 is not reflective of where the family actually stands now. That is information that needs to be communicated to the financial aid representative as soon as possible. I think, the big piece is it's just to open up lines of communication. The students should feel comfortable. I always say, make a friend in the financial aid office, someone that you can talk to. And again, what I've come to learn is that, you may not be able to satisfy or accommodate all of the requests, but as financial aid representatives, we can't do for you our very best if we don't know the full circumstances of what the family is looking at. So lines of communication are key in this process.